Call this meeting to order. Please stand for a flag salute and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Morose.
Present.
Commissioner Pollock-Rude.
Present.
Commissioner Serco.
Present.
And Commissioner Edison.
Present.
And great. Let the record show Commissioner Sotile is not here.
Great, thank you. Welcome to the El Cajon Planning Commission meeting. This meeting is being live streamed on the City of El Cajon website. Appeals of final decisions of the Planning Commission made this evening must be filed in writing with the City Clerk before 5 p.m. Friday, December 1st, 2023, and must include the payment of a filing fee. If you wish to speak on either a non-agenda or agenda item tonight, please fill out a request to speak card located by the agenda and turn it into the secretary, who will call you up to speak when the agenda item comes up for public comment. We ask that you give us your name, spelling of your last name. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. The display on the podium, as well as other monitors in the chambers, will show time counting down. At 30 seconds, the podium clock readout will turn red, signifying you have 30 seconds until the end of your time. Applicants and individual representing groups of people may be allowed more time if appropriate. All public hearing comments are to be addressed to me as the chair of the commission and not to individual commissioners. Please turn off all electronic devices if you've not already done so. Pursuant to City Council Resolution number 114-79, a commissioner has received evidence related to a matter before the Planning Commission other than an unescorted view of the subject property is required to disclose such information. At this time, we will take comments from any member of the public on any item of business within the jurisdiction of the Commission that is not on the agenda. Under state law, no action can be taken on items brought forward under public comment, except to refer it to staff for administration or place it on a future agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to address the commission under public comment? Please come forward now. All right, seeing that there's none, we will move to the consent calendar. Does the commission wish to pull any items on the consent calendar?
No, sir.
Okay. The staff?
No changes from staff.
Okay, great.
I make a motion to accept the calendar as recorded.
Perfect.
A second.
Motion by Commissioner Serco, seconded by Commissioner Pollock-Rude. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of members present.
All right, the first item under public hearing is agenda item number 2. This is a request to amend specific plan number 32 to allow neighborhood serving warehouse, distribution, and wholesale activities. It is CEQA exempt. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So again, this is a request to amend specific plan number 32 in order to expand opportunities for neighborhood serving warehousing, distribution, and wholesale activities at the Plaza de las Palmas Shopping Center. So specific plan 32 was first adopted in 1958. The shopping center is at the corner of East Chase and Avocado Avenues. Overall, it's about 13 acres in size, and the development has 2 large commercial spaces which act as the anchor stores for the shopping center. Additionally, numerous retail and restaurant uses occupy the remainder of the shopping center along the interior property lines. And then there's also the 3 freestanding buildings near the adjacent streets. And then in between those are ample parking for the center. Across the streets, additional commercial uses are located to the north and to the west, and then we have single-family homes also to the south, east, and west of the site. So the shopping center does have a neighborhood commercial general plan designation. That's intended to be small shopping centers found in close proximity to residential areas. They're typically 2 to 5 acres in size, and they're intended to provide for daily or frequent shopping needs of nearby residents. Objective 9.5 9-4.3 of the general plan shown here seeks to ensure that the shopping centers are designed to be compatible with nearby residential uses. So the existing specific plan governs interconnecting access and shared amenities in the shopping center, and it allows uses in accordance with the underlying neighborhood commercial zoning. So the municipal code does allow specific plans to be used in instances where a more detailed plan or standards than those in the zoning code are warranted. So the applicant is proposing to allow neighborhoods serving warehousing, distribution, and wholesale uses in accordance with the definition that's shown here on this slide. So under the existing zoning regulations, under the CN zone, they would allow for warehousing, distribution, or wholesale activities to occur at retail stores as an accessory use, but it does limit those activities to 15% of the floor area available for the use and 15% of receipts. So the change that's proposed with this specific plan amendment would limit neighborhoods serving warehousing, distribution, wholesale activities to only tenant spaces within the shopping center that are greater than 20,000 square feet, so the two anchor tenant stores that we discussed earlier. And it would remove that 15% limitation on wholesaling activities as well as receipts. So the applicant for this request does intend to utilize the former Rite Aid store, which is the southerly larger store that's currently vacant, for the proposed use. The applicant has generally characterized that as being similar to a Costco or a Sam's Club, with the business open to the public while continuing to offer products by retail and wholesale. Additionally, I wanted to note that the specific plan does also address wholesale tobacco and alcohol sales by requiring that they're not visible to the general public. This is intended to ensure that the use maintains the appearance of just a general retail commercial store and doesn't present the appearance of a liquor store or a smoke shop. So while evaluating the proposal, staff considered online retail activities and home delivery businesses such as Amazon, DoorDash, Instacart, and Uber Eats. Those types of uses are really transforming the retail landscape by increasing demand for warehousing and for localized distribution systems. So cities, including El Cajon, we're seeing this at the regional level as Amazon and other warehousing businesses build new localized warehousing and delivery systems. But we're also seeing it at a smaller scale inside retail commercial shopping centers. Often now when you go to Target or to Walmart, you'll see space near the entrance that's being allocated to the storage of merchandise that's then delivered to customers in the parking lot. Additionally, as an example, you see at some Vons where they offer that same service of delivering to the parking lot, but they also now have trucks in the parking lot that then deliver to the surrounding neighborhoods. So staff believes that the proposed use will be compatible with surrounding properties. Within the specific plan, there are certain implementation policies that would restrict new loading docks from facing Burnaby Street to the east, and also requiring any new wholesale uses to maintain commercial storefronts with windows, so having the appearance of a retail commercial store and not, covering up all the windows and just being a wholesale warehouse. So the specific plan amendment requires a recommendation from the Planning Commission to the City Council. And in order to recommend City Council approval, the Planning Commission would need to meet the findings shown here, that the specific plan amendment will serve the public interest and that it will implement the city's general plan. So the draft findings that are included in the staff report determine that the specific plan amendment would serve the public interest by providing opportunities for increased local delivery and distribution, thus meeting the needs of the marketplace in a manner that is compatible with surrounding properties as required by the general plan. Additionally, the specific plan amendment would be exempt from CEQA under the existing facilities exemption because they're not proposing to expand or construct any new buildings, and the use is already allowed with the underlying CN zone. It's just the increase in the percentage that would be allowed. So staff therefore recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the City Council of the CEQA exemption and the amendment of specific plan number 32 as proposed. And that concludes staff's presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Yes.
I know that we were talking about not having any of the delivery slots pointing towards Burnaby to the east. Is there any consideration for truck sizes, or is that just beyond our purview?
Well, since the shopping center is in its existing state and we're just proposing a change in use, there was the restriction on the location for new bays is only related to modifications to the building. So
Okay.
we wanted to ensure from a compatibility perspective that those houses to the east knew that that if any new roll-up doors or other things that would change would not be oriented towards those homes that are adjacent there. Since the use is substantially similar, the way it's been characterized to the Rite Aid, it's just increasing the amount of wholesale that's going on there. The same level of trucks and size of trucks would be anticipated to be going to the site.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers the question.
Mostly. I was looking at the site map and wondering if the bays are located at the north and south end, if there's still room for them to make it in without too much backing up.
Yeah, we can defer to the applicant just to answer questions about specific access points. I mean, there are multiple bays along the eastern side of the building there where for access points.
Okay.
Yes, any other questions? Yes.
Just as far as the hours, is there going to be any change in the hours? I know that neighborhood, with the traffic flow, of deliveries, is there going to be any change to that? Or is that, I might defer to that to the applicant.
Yes, I would. The challenging thing from a staff perspective is that there's an existing shopping center, and for the proposed change in use, although it is in this instance specific to one tenant space, it's going to apply to the entirety of the shopping center because it has to be the specific plan that governs the entirety of the site. So basically, the specific plan amendment maintains the status quo with regards to deliveries, to hours, and to anything else that's allowed under the zoning, and it just makes that one change to the percentage of wholesale and distribution.
Any other questions for staff? All right, do we have any speaker cards?
So we don't have any speaker slips for this, but the applicant is present, Vince Catula, if he wanted to come up and address the commission.
Good evening, Chairman Ross and members of the Planning Commission. I have a stack of 10 speaker cards. They don't need to speak. They can yield their time to me, and I'm requesting 5 minutes to make a brief presentation.
It's fine. Yep.
All right, good evening again, Chairman Ross and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Vince Catula with Catula & Associates, and I represent Issue Inc. on item 2 for tonight's agenda. With me today is our environmental analyst, Roma Stromberg. I'll be dialing her in if there's any CEQA-related questions. And Jeff Mansour, president of Issue Inc., and Ramon Mansour. We are here before you tonight seeking recommendation of approval to the City Council to amend Specific Plan 32, allowing neighborhood-serving warehousing, distribution, and wholesale to occur within Specific Plan 32. A little bit of background. As staff mentioned earlier, Specific Plan 32 was initially adopted in 1958 and consists of approximately 120,000 square feet of existing structures, and it's situated on approximately a 13-acre site. The site that the Mansours intend on occupying is this site right here. It's the former Rite Aid. Throughout the 80s and 90s, this site was a Thrifties, and most recently, as you see here, a Rite Aid. Some of you may have heard that Rite Aid has been closing down their stores throughout the nation, and this one actually closed earlier this year. The proposed project is fairly simple. One could compare it to a mom-and-pop style Costco or Sam's Club. The site would be open to the public, but customers are required to maintain an annual membership. Products include bulk-sized snacks, drinks, medicine, frozen food, personal hygiene products, automotive equipment, and other household goods. Wholesale tobacco and alcohol will also be available, but they are both restricted to business owners only, who must possess an active reseller's license from either the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control or State Tobacco Licensing. Both tobacco and alcohol will be secured off from the remainder of the store and accessible to resellers only. The secured area is externally screened with household goods to prevent any visual impacts or the appearance of a smoke shop or liquor store. We'll discuss that here in a bit. This is an animation of what the site will look like after tenant improvements have been completed. As you can see, you enter through an existing foyer and immediately off to the left. So it's a one-way in, one-way out. And as you can see here, what you see is candies and snacks and chips and different sorts of bulk-sized goods that you might find at a similar type of wholesaler. In the very back here, we have a coffee break area. That is, you could compare that to like the hot dog and pizza area of Costco, if you will. But pretty much, we're just going to be having some Keurigs for coffee and tea and so forth for customers. Here you see a little bit more household goods. You see laundry detergent. You're going to start coming into some oil for motor oil, automotive products, and so forth. And then as we continue throughout the rest of the store, you see some cereals, again, bulk-sized products, but also available to members of the public. At the very top here, you see some soaps. You know, that might be like a Dove or Olay in a 20-pack. Here you have cases of Evian water. You have sodas here on the outside. To the left is actually the secured off area. You can see the chain link fence on top that's screened by the different sodas and bulk size, cases of fruit drinks and so forth. The area that I want to highlight right now is this wholesale-only authorized door. As soon as you enter this area, this is where the alcohol and tobacco is going to be placed. But again, from the outside looking in, you would never know that any of this is here. I don't necessarily know this is the exact layout. We might not have Asahi beer towards the back, but it would be changed throughout the area. Here we have frozen food, similar to the Costco frozen food aisle. We have cold food and drinks there. There you might find craft kombuchas by the case or other types of hard-to-find drinks. This is the office area where the customer service is going to be. This is the area where management would be overseeing the 5 checkout stands. And then ultimately, like I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, the animation, one way in, one way out. So the only way to get out here is if you go through the checkout stands. Our request this evening is that you agree with the over 100 written comments that were submitted to the city in support of this project. Agree with staff's recommendation to adopt the proposed SP 32 changes and recommend approval to the City Council. This concludes our presentation, and our team is available to answer any questions.
Thank you. I did have a question for you, Mr. Catula. If I am correct, this cash and carry will be designed for people to walk in, get stuff. Cash and carry still has another facility where they deliver to the stores as well, correct?
That's correct.
Be trucks backing in and out and delivering stuff here, correct?
That's correct. We have a different delivery location where the larger trucks are, and that's in an area outside of this facility.
Okay, great. Any other questions for? Great presentation. I love the 3D animation there. That was good.
Thank you.
Probably the best one I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Nice little flyover. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Okay, so just to clarify, from this animation, and I know this is not exactly how it will be, it looked like all sales are taking place inside the area of the store, whether it's retail, resale, or retail or resale. So the only difference is wholesalers are the only ones able to get into the cage with the beer and tobacco. Alcohol and tobacco are restricted. So the question I'm coming to is, are there trucks delivering from this location on the back? Or if someone wants to get a large order for their mom and pop store where they're selling stuff, are they parking in the front, going through the store, and then coming out the front?
Through the chair, Commissioner Circo, great question. So to answer the first part, there are no deliveries that are going to be occurring from this particular location. This facility is special to the individuals that may live in the area that may want to buy a 30-pack of, paper towel, right? But don't want to necessarily drive to La Mesa or Santee. They want to stay in El Cajon, right? The other type of customer that you might find at this particular location is the folks that own the mom and pop shops, right? There's a number of them that live within this region, and so it's a pretty convenient location to be driving near your home or on your way to work in the morning or on your way home back in the evening. And instead of having to drive to another part of town to pick up the products you might sell in your mom and pop shop, you can pick it up on your way home. So it's a quality of life improvement that we're going to be seeing for a lot of these folks, but also an asset to the city of El Cajon.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to add on to that, I just wanted to add that although we've been talking specifically about the use as proposed for the former Rite Aid space, really the intent here in staff working with the applicant was to get something that fits for the entire shopping center. Mm-hmm. So just as a reminder, the proposed specific plan amendment would apply to stores greater than 20,000 square feet, which would, as of right now, only be the Bonds as well as the former Rite Aid space. And then additionally, we were trying to make sure that we're being forward-thinking and accommodating, the evolution of the retail market. So as an example, I know in the city of Lemon Grove, they have an Albertsons at Massachusetts, and the Albertsons there recently, it was about 40,000 square feet, allocated about 10,000 square feet into kind of a more localized distribution system where they have where you can go in and pick up your groceries that you've ordered online, and they also have the trucks there. So I just want to emphasize that the way the specific plan amendment is structured is to accommodate the evolution of Vons as well as the description that Mr. Catulo just showed you for the former Rite Aid space.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Appreciate your time. It's a clean project.
Thank you.
No other speaker cards, correct?
I believe these are all the cards for this item.
For this item? Okay, great. All right. Well, then, with that being said, I make a motion to close public hearing.
So motioned.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Moreau, seconded by Commissioner Edison. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of members present.
Great. Well, I think it's a good project. It's nice that we're not going to see that stay vacant for very long. There's a lot of big stores that are vacant these days.
Yeah, I didn't even know Rite Aid Thrifty closed until I saw the site. I was like, really?
But yeah, so that's great.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good investment in the community. All right. Well, with that being said, I'd like to go ahead and move to adopt the next resolution in order, recommending City Council approval of proposed CEQA exemption and to amend specific plan number 32 to allow neighborhood servicing warehouse, distribution, and wholesale activities.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Moreau, seconded by Commissioner Pollock-Rude. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of members present.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just as this was a recommendation to the City Council, I wanted to note for the record this item was joint noticed for the December 12th, 2023 City Council meeting.
Great. Thank you. All right. All right. The next agenda item is number 3. It is the zoning code amendment, initiate zoning code amendment. It is secret exempt, and staff recommendation is approve. So here we are again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, again, this is a request to initiate a zoning code update. Updates or revisions are periodically required to address current issues, provide clarification, or conform to changes in state law. For this year, we're looking at some commercial and economic development issues. Staff have received inquiries related to prohibiting intoxicating hemp. The city has previously prohibited cannabis, and a prohibition on intoxicating hemp would preclude businesses from selling a potentially harmful product to youth as well as unsuspecting adults. Staff would also like to improve the vacant property regulations to address some maintenance and security issues that were occurring through code compliance. And then lastly, staff would like to consider expanding recycling facilities beyond bottle and cans, but only with new operational standards. We've seen some changes in recycling facilities where they want to offer recycling of electronics as well as cardboard, and as of right now, the zoning code just limits it to bottles and cans, essentially, in commercial zones.
Great.
We did receive letters regarding intoxicating hemp and recycling facilities. They've been both provided at the dais for your consideration. And I do believe that we have 2 speaker slips on each of those topics as well.
Great. I did have a question before we get to the speakers. And I don't know a lot about it, but was it last year or the year before that we put in a zoning code amendment that talked about a thing called a residential edge around developments? Mm-hmm. Was that put in last year or the year before?
We have done multiple with the multiple changes in state law with regards to housing. We've made a lot of changes, especially to design standards. The design standards previously emphasized kind of compatibility and were kind of broad stroke. State law has changed and requires us now to have objective design standards, which have requirements for, pop-outs, the number of windows, and they all have to be quantified. So we don't have the ability anymore to just say that, the detached unit or residential structure to be compatible with the house. We have to make those specific and, basically check the box type issues. So that's really, as a segue, has led to us to have to go through kind of multiple iterations of housing code amendments and design changes. Since last year, when we adopted those new window regulations, there was a process that was put into the zoning code to allow an administrative zoning permit for relief from requirements for design standards. What we've seen through permitting for ADUs is at least 4 requests where the transparency or window requirements weren't meeting, or the design of the building didn't meet those standards, but it was still a logical design for the building, and really due to kind of wet walls where you had bathrooms or kitchens, etc., it just wasn't feasible to meet those objective requirements for windows. So what we're proposing to do under housing is to kind of update those objective design standards and to provide additional clarity based on our experience over the last year. We're also proposing to implement some procedures for tiny homes on wheels. As of right now, our ADU regulations, only allow them under the building code construction. Allowing tiny homes on wheels is an opportunity where, through a different process, someone through design standards could potentially locate a tiny home on a residential lot in lieu of an accessory dwelling unit. It need to be skirted. It would have design standards, a pitched roof, not be like of a trailer siding and so forth. Yeah. So we would be looking at those types of standards. And then the last item on housing was that we did identify one other portion of the code that was related to density bonus law that we need to clean up and edit based on changes in state law.
Right.
So those are the 2 sections. There's also some other miscellaneous changes. There's, as an example, like in the code, the City Hall was previously addressed as 200 East Main Street. We're now 200 Civic Center Way. So we're just proposing some miscellaneous code updates based on things that we've seen. The zoning ordinance does require that the Planning Commission or City Council initiate zoning code amendments. So the staff recommendation is for the Planning Commission to adopt the proposed resolution and direct staff to prepare these amendments and then bring them back for your consideration.
Great, thank you. All right, well, I know you mentioned there's some people here with speaker cards tonight. Let's go ahead and open up public hearing.
Yes, I have a speaker card. Gina Austin.
Great.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Gina Austin, and I represent a large group of individuals who are specifically focused on prohibiting intoxicating hemp throughout San Diego County. I provided you a letter that goes through a long explanation of how intoxicating hemp is a loophole of the Farm Bill and is a public health crisis that's out in front of every city throughout California and very strong foothold here in Southern California. I think it's important to understand that this is not the ban on cannabis that is already within your municipal code, right? This is something separate and apart. And when I do these presentations to jurisdictions, I go in either their district or their jurisdiction, and I go to whatever smoke shop or AM/PM I can. And then today I went into Parkway Plaza. And in Parkway Plaza, there's a smoke shop that sells this intoxicating hemp that it says completely legal under the Farm Bill, which is 120 milligrams in 2 pieces of cannabis. The average dosage, if you were in a legal shop in a jurisdiction that allowed it, would be 10 milligrams. This stuff is untested. It is not, there's no age gating. They don't care who buys it. Here's another one. This is a smokable inhalable. This one is expressly prohibited under AB 45. With the lack of enforcement at the state level, what we're asking is for the local jurisdictions to come in and take some action so that we can make sure that this loophole that the Farm Bill has created allows the local jurisdictions to use their land use authority to prohibit that from continuing to occur. This city has already said, we don't want cannabis sales in the city. And that's fine. It's jurisdiction by jurisdiction, whatever they decide. But this is not prohibited currently in your ordinance. And so what we're asking is that with a few finer, small amendments to your local municipal code and your zoning ordinance, prohibit the sale of this. Give your law enforcement the tools they need to go in and prohibit the sales of this. Right now, law enforcement, and I've talked with law enforcement in most jurisdictions here in Southern California, they've said our problem is that if we go in, we can seize everything, then we have to test it. We don't have testing facilities for this, so we have to use the state-run testing facilities. We seize some things, they are greater than 0.03%. Some of it's not greater than that. It's impossible for them to tell. It's very hard for them to do enforcement, and they don't have the bandwidth. And so to help alleviate part of that problem, if it's just prohibited from sale in your jurisdiction, they don't have to worry about the level of intoxicant. They can simply say, this is not allowed because it's not allowed in our jurisdiction, the same way the city of El Cajon shut down the illegal dispensaries that were selling cannabis because it just wasn't allowed in the jurisdiction. So I'm asking for your support as to this particular issue. I think all the changes to the municipal code are a good idea, but this one I'm especially requesting support on. Thank you.
Would you do me a favor and pass that over to our secretary? I'd like to see if we could pass that around. I want to take a look at that stuff. I had no idea. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Oh, come back up to the podium. We might have some questions for you.
I'm sorry. You got both of those items from Parkway Plaza,
Yes.
and there's no age limit, so any minor can come in there and get this?
They will, sometimes they say they will sell to, I didn't ask this particular person. Normally I send in my daughter who's 22 who looks like she's 12, and they don't ask her a thing, but she wasn't with me today. And so a lot of times, every shop is different. Sometimes they say, oh, are you 21? And you say, yes. Sometimes they ask for ID. Sometimes they charge tax. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they say you need to be 21. So it's a mixed bag. But that cut leaf one, I understand, is actually manufacturing in both El Cajon and the city of San Diego.
Wait, which one is?
The gummy one.
It's manufactured here?
I've been told they have a facility in the city of El Cajon as well.
Interesting.
But you don't know that for a fact, right?
I do not know that for a fact.
There
no.
is a sliver of county where the airport is, where they're allowed to manufacture this stuff. I wouldn't be surprised.
That is only one facility in the county. That's Outco, right over there by the airport, and that is separate and apart. This is not them.
Really? Interesting.
So just to be clear, you're saying that the police departments are saying that they have no tools to stop?
Not that they have no tools. No, they have a variety of tools. They can go in and seize product and hope that it is, and then test it to determine if it's greater than the percentage that's allowed under the Farm Bill. They can take action under what was AB 45, which prohibits intoxicants. They generally can't get to a felony in those instances. So there's also some tax code violations. There's violations of the Business and Professions Code. There's some advertising violations. So there's various ways. But with the bandwidth, and this is what I've been told from various police departments, with their bandwidth issues, with their, they've got crimes that are going on, they've got homelessness, they've got all of these other issues that are very high priorities. If they're going to have to spend an enormous amount of time to try and determine whether something's intoxicating or not, it puts it lower on the priority list because they need to be able to solve as many problems as they can in as much time as they have.
Great. Any other questions? Pretty self-explanatory, huh?
Mr. Chairman, can I just add one element to that? So the City of El Cajon zoning code is a permissive zoning code. So since this intoxicating hemp isn't specifically listed as a permitted use, technically it's prohibited. But the issue is that it is since it's not technically defined in the zoning code, it does make it difficult for enforcement. So we have had issues in code compliance cases where we've had a complaint, we've gone out, we've investigated, we've identified these substances, we've gone out, we've had them tested, and then we've had issues with appeals where the person's indicating that they legally obtained it in accordance with the Farm Bill, going through kind of the nuances and exceptions that are in the code. So the idea as presented by Ms. Austin here would allow us to specifically define that, make it clear that it's prohibited, and then eliminate those loopholes.
Great. Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I appreciate it. All right. Any other speaker cards?
Yes, I have one. Josh Turchin.
How you doing, Josh?
Very well, thanks.
How's Jerry doing?
Jerry passed away almost 2 years ago. Thanks for asking.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I did not know that.
Jerry went downhill very quickly. Thank you very much for asking.
You bet.
Yep. So I am third-generation owner of California Metals. We were an institution on South Marshall for 35 years. Now we're headquartered on Front Street behind the trolley station. I'm here today asking for you to please consider updating regulations as they pertain to the recycling business in El Cajon. We've developed our One Earth recycling model to make reverse retail recycling just as user-friendly and accessible as shopping, so that recycling and shopping become neatly integrated parts of the same circular function. Our prefabricated steel frame recycling kiosk requires the equivalent of just 5 parking spaces, including concealed storage for collected materials. One Earth offers consumers a uniquely pleasant, full-service opportunity to get paid for recycling material from a wide range of categories, including electronics and metals, excluding steel, along with CRV bottles and cans. In accordance with California's Convenience Zone program, in order for the economics of the bottle and can redemption business to be feasible, we need to operate within a mile of a grocery store where bottle and can redemption is not already available. And we also need to co-locate with a business for whom the sale of CRV beverages represents a significant part of their business. As I understand it, El Cajon regulations currently preclude the inclusion of electronics and metals if our business was to operate in one of these so-called convenience zones. The inclusion of metals and electronics in our business are important components of our value proposition. It's generally illegal to landfill electronic scrap material in California. We offer a rare full-time opportunity for consumers to make sure end-of-life electronics get retired responsibly. We also guarantee identity security in the case of storage devices like mobile phones and hard drives. For contractors, the redemption of scrap metals is as much a regular part of their workflow as the core services they provide. El Cajon is dramatically underserved by recycling redemption, but so is the entire state. CRV funds taken in at the point of sale of beverages that are not being paid back have ballooned to in excess of $700 million. The consumer is owed an opportunity to redeem their CRV containers and recoup their advanced recycling fee with the same efficiency with which the state extracts those funds. The shortage of redemption opportunities available to the consumer demonstrates how challenging our business model has become. The inclusion of our full range of material accepted enhances the value of our offering to the community and helps to ensure economic sustainability of our operation. The management at Cajon's Market on East Main would welcome our operation at their location, but we'd be happy to work with your group in case you can provide support for One Earth openings in other locations where we might be able to best serve the interest of our community. We clearly understand the reasons that legislative barriers have been erected to preclude the likes of historical examples of recycling redemption. At One Earth, we have modernized reverse retail recycling to create demand for our offering on the part of merchants to go along with mounting demand on the part of consumers. As of 10 years ago, there were over 2,600 bottle and can redemption operations statewide. We're now under 1,200. The crater that now takes the place of what was once a thriving industry serves as testament to the unique challenges that face our industry. By the establishment of the CRV program in 1987, the state de facto asserted that reverse retail recycling should be a part of the core of the functioning of every community. Please permit us to deliver our full range of services to the residents and businesses of El Cajon. Consumers will show their thanks in the form of increased frequency of shopping trips armed with new money with local merchants, while helping us to ensure that tons of material are responsibly retired instead of winding up in local landfills. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
I have two questions. And I think one of them might be for staff. I recall a cell phone recycling kiosk at Parkway. And as far as I understand it, that's still allowable in the zoning ordinance. So what distinction between cell phone and electronics is there in the code right now?
I think there's the prohibition in commercial zones, or in commercial zones, the zoning code essentially allows resource recovery centers, which are limited to bottles and cans.
Okay.
And the typical distinction that you see is that in industrial zones, you'll see kind of larger recycling facilities where they have large kind of outdoor scrap areas with cans and cardboard and so forth. What we're talking about in this instance is trying to come up with a modification to the commercial regulations that would have specific operational standards and conditions of approval that limit, essentially, as an example, the use to within an enclosed building and make sure that they're appropriate for a commercial setting. Going back to the kiosk question, typically for things like that, like kiosk that's inside a mall or inside an enclosed building, I don't know if we would essentially classify that as recycling, even though it is technically recycling, and it also could be, a resale type use. So there's probably different ways to classify that under zoning regulations that could be permitted as a commercial use. I think really the primary distinction that we're working on here tonight and that we would bring back if the commission is open to the idea is just to kind of expand those types of commercial recycling facilities that would be located in a shopping center parking lot.
Oh, I absolutely agree. When we used to have Ralph's on Second, where Walmart now is, there also used to be a recycling center right next to it. And I'd take my bottles and cans there, get some cash, go to Ralph's, go shopping. So I'm 100% behind this. And if I could also drop off my kid's dead electronic toy at the same time, boom.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. It's innovative, and I like the way you're thinking. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Thanks for saying so. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other speaker cards?
I do not have any other speaker cards.
Okay. All right. Well, at this time, then, I'm going to make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Moreau, seconded by Commissioner Serco. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of members present.
Great. All right. So we've got a couple things here on the list that staff could get working on right away.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what you guys bring back on both of those, both the hemp as well as making the convenience of recycling. And that's just a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and the
I think a lot of
housing
people
update,
are
too.
not recycling because they don't have a place to go. I mean, other than the big, giant, like you still have Front Street, correct? Correct. Yeah, and that's just a big facility. People don't necessarily want to.
Yeah, if I don't have a whole bag of bottles and cans, it's not worth driving all the way over there. So
Yep.
they end up going in the blue bin in the front yard, and there goes the CRV.
Exactly. Yep. All right.
Well, I'll move to make to adopt the next resolution in order, initiating an amendment to the El Cajon zoning code.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Serco, seconded by Commissioner Pollock-Rude. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of members present.
Great. All right. At this time, do we have any other items for consideration?
Yes, we do. Actually, tonight we have the 2024 Planning Commission calendar as another item for consideration. So I would note for 2024, we have proposed only one meeting in January, on January 16th. Typically, they're the first and third of each month, so we are not proposing to have a meeting on January 2nd.
Aw.
And then the remainder of the calendar kind of fell into place with the normally scheduled meetings. So the calendar is before you and proposed. We would just request concurrence on the calendar, on the draft calendar, please.
Yeah, I don't see any issues either. Any of you?
Yeah, we actually get 2 meetings in December next year, too. That's pretty cool.
All right.
Okay. So if there's no objections, we don't need any action from the Planning Commission. And then on the same topic, I would note that we don't have any items scheduled at this time for the last meeting that's scheduled for 2023 on December 5th. So this will be the last meeting of the year unless there's some type of emergency that comes up or something that comes up unexpectedly. So I would just wish the Commission a happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays, and look forward to seeing you in 2024.
All right. Sounds good.
Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
There you go. All the above. Well, with that being said, I make a motion to adjourn.
On second.
Motion made by Commissioner Morose, second by Commissioner Circo. Please vote. We'll see you guys in next year.
Yeah.